You might think you know Illinois. Bright city skylines, bustling neighborhoods, families at summer cookouts. But beyond those familiar images lies another side of the prairie state, a place where the night is unsettlingly quiet and something in the shadows watches. From the swampy edges of the Big Muddy River near Murfreesboro, where a hiker mysteriously disappears after following bizarre footprints, to the dense, moonlit trails of Shawnee National Forest, where campers cower at terrifying growls in the night, and finally, to the deserted corners of Pullman National Monument, where a park ranger encounters a towering presence in an abandoned building. 3 unsettling tales, each one offering a chilling glimpse into a world that defies explanation. So settle in and be prepared to leave a light on. Welcome to Weird Encounters, a place where the ordinary fades into shadow and the unexplainable comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of our ever-growing community of the curious. Now prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. I'm Michael, and I've been holding on to this story for 10 years. It all happened in the summer of 2013 near the Big Muddy River in Murfreesboro, Illinois. At the time, I was just out of high school and took a trip down there with my friend Calvin, who was visiting from Chicago. People around here have always talked about some giant hairy creature roaming the riverbanks, but we never believed in any of that. Not until we ended up face to face with something I still can't explain. We arrived in Murfreesboro on a humid Friday afternoon. We set up a couple of cheap tents not far from the river. It was just supposed to be a simple getaway, fishing, hiking, and forgetting about everyday stress. That first evening was pretty normal. We cooked hot dogs over a little fire, laughed about old memories, and listened to the crickets. But late into the night, I started to hear this deep moan echo across the water. It wasn't like a coyote or any animal I'd heard. It was almost human, but too distorted. Kind of like a cross between a loud groan and a roar. Calvin tried to say it was probably just the wind in the trees, but deep down, I knew it wasn't that. I felt this chill run down my spine, and the crickets went completely silent at the exact moment it sounded. I remember checking the time. It was around 1 a.m. That night, I barely slept, and I kept imagining something big lurking just outside our tents. The next morning, we decided to explore along the riverbank. The air was thick with humidity, and the mud sucked at our boots with every step. We found these huge footprints in a patch of fresh mud. They looked like human footprints, only twice as big and spaced out way too far for any normal stride. Calvin took some pictures with his phone, saying if we tried to tell anyone without proof, we'd be laughed at. Something about seeing those prints made me feel off, like we were trespassing in someone else's domain. Later, we went a bit deeper into the brush. The trees grow thick near the water, and the reeds can hide almost anything. I noticed the woods had gone quieter than normal. It felt like every animal in the area was holding its breath. We could smell this funky odor like wet fur and rotten fish. We followed that smell for a while, but it disappeared as fast as it came. Calvin joked that maybe we were tracking the big muddy monster, which folks around here sometimes talk about in hushed voices. I used to dismiss it as a local legend. But the footprints and the night calls made me uneasy. That afternoon, we split up for just a bit. I had gone back to the camp to grab water and some snacks, while Calvin wanted to check out a little clearing where the river bends. I still replay that decision in my mind, wishing we'd stayed together. As I returned, I realized Calvin wasn't where he said he'd be. His fishing gear was scattered, his phone laid face down in the dirt with a cracked screen. It looked like something made him drop everything and run. I shouted for him until my throat burned. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just the oppressive silence and that strange odor in the air again. My heart hammered as I searched around. I even thought maybe he was playing a prank, but it wasn't like him to vanish without a word. When I found a broken branch with some dark smears on it, I lost it and called the local police. They arrived with a search dog, combing the area all afternoon. The dog kept circling a thick patch of reeds where we'd first noticed that smell. No sign of Calvin, not even footprints leading away. I tried explaining about the giant footprints we saw, about the weird growl at night, but the officers gave me that look people give when they think you're hysterical. They put out an official missing person alert. Days went by and I was back home, not knowing what to tell Calvin's family. The authorities claimed they found no definitive evidence of foul play. But how do you explain footprints like that? I blamed myself for splitting up. It haunted me, thinking I might have heard the last of Calvin's voice by the campfire that night. I started digging into local stories, and the rumors only made me more uneasy. Some folks talk about a towering creature covered in mud and moss, seen late at night under old bridges or near swampy bends of the big muddy river. Everyone I asked either brushed it off or acted like they knew something they wouldn't say out loud. They say time heals all wounds, but some memories, some don't fade. They rot, like something left out in the woods too long. It's been 10 years, and still, I can't escape it. Calvin was found 3 days later, curled up at the edge of the tree line, dehydrated, barely coherent, eyes wide with something primal. Fear, shock, they said, exposure. But I know better. He'd seen something. He'd survived something. He only talks about it when he's had too much to drink, and even then, it's fragments. Shaky words. Breathless fear. He says he ran until his legs gave out. Says it was chasing him. Something tall, moss-covered, stinking of decay. Not just a creature. No, something wrong. Something evil. He crawled into a hollow under a massive, rotting stump, covered himself in leaves and dirt. And then he waited, as it circled, grunting, sniffing, like it knew he was there. And it wasn't just hunting, it was toying with him. The part that never leaves me, even after all these years, are the footprints. I saw them myself, huge, twisted, not human, not animal, something in between. And the sound, that low, guttural moan. It wasn't loud, it was deep. Vibrating, like it came from the earth itself. I still hear it sometimes, in dreams. Or worse, when I'm awake. Some say it was the big muddy monster, others a ghost story. But I've seen what belief looks like, and I've seen what terror feels like. Whatever happened out there in those woods wasn't make-believe. It was real, and I think it's still out there. If anybody else has experienced something similar near the Big Muddy River, please reach out. I'd give anything to find out what might be roaming those murky waters, and if it has anything to do with Calvin's disappearance. I can't let it go. Even after a decade, the memory is as vivid as if it happened yesterday. I don't even know where to begin with this, but it's been gnawing at me ever since. My name's Lucas. I live in Chicago, and I just got back from a solo camping trip in Shawnee National Forest, not far from the Garden of the Gods. I went there to clear my head, get away from the hum of the city. Just breathe for a while. I planned on staying 2 nights, but truth be told, I almost didn't make it through the first. The first day, everything looked perfect. Golden sunlight pouring through the trees, the rustle of leaves, a birdsong drifting from somewhere far off. I got there late afternoon, pitched my little tent, and took a walk down the nearest trail as the sun slipped beneath the trees. It was quiet, but not peaceful. It was too quiet, like the whole forest was holding its breath. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound that I still hear in the back of my mind. A low guttural growl, long and heavy. It didn't sound like a coyote, not a wolf either. This wasn't anything I could explain. It wasn't a sound you just hear. It was something you feel, like it came up from the ground and settled in your bones. At first, I tried to tell myself I was overreacting. I've done that before. I jumped at a raccoon outside my uncle's cabin once and felt like an idiot. But this was different. This was close, heavy, low to the ground. It moved like it was stalking something. Or someone. I froze. Couldn't move. That sharp metallic taste hit the back of my mouth. Adrenaline, I guess. My skin was on fire with goosebumps. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to stay still, not to breathe, not to make a sound. Then I remembered the stories my grandpa used to tell. He served in Korea, and he was never the kind of guy to get rattled. But when he talked about the forests around Illinois, his eyes would shift, his voice would drop. He spoke of things that weren't quite human. Creatures with fur like shadows and eyes that gleamed red in the dark. Giant canines. Humanoids that watched from between the trees. We always thought it was just his imagination. But that night, lying there frozen in my tent, I believed him. And like an idiot, I grabbed my flashlight. I unzipped the tent just enough to shine it outside. Just enough to look. Just enough to regret it. I peeked out of the tent, and it was like staring into ink. The moon offered little light, just a faint pale shimmer through the canopy above. The trees, thick and towering, swallowed most of it. Out there, darkness isn't just a lack of light. It's a presence, like it's watching you back. I swept the flashlight across the clearing, nervous hands, breath held tight. I couldn't see more than a few feet. But then, a crack, a branch, off to the right, maybe 50 feet away. Then it came again. That sound. A low growl rumbling like a furnace about to burst, followed by something worse, breathing, but not normal breathing. No, this was labored, heavy, like something big was struggling to suck in air. And it wasn't just size, it was intent. Like it didn't breathe to live, it breathed to hunt. I don't know what it was. Animal? Maybe. But not any kind that's in a field guide. What I do know is this. It wasn't friendly. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the thing might hear it. My flashlight started flickering, sputtering like it knew something was near. That's when the thought hit me, sharp and cold. If I stayed here, I might never leave. One headline away from becoming a statistic, a missing hiker, a cold case, no signal, no help, no one would hear me scream out here. I zipped up the tent, locked myself in as if nylon could protect me, and lay there, listening, waiting, praying it would pass me by. The second night, I should have left. I should have trusted that gut feeling. But pride, it's a dangerous thing. I didn't want to run without proof. So I moved my tent closer to the car. A different site. A bit more open. A bit more foolish. And that night, it was quieter. Mostly. Except for the strange noises drifting through the trees. Faint, almost whisper-like. And then, around 11 p.m., came the lights. They flickered through the trees. Soft, floating glows. Not flashlights, not lanterns, something else entirely. Like orbs, like watchers. I remembered the old rumors then. Whispers about secret labs, hidden bunkers, experiments deep in the woods. I used to laugh at them. I'm not laughing anymore. The next morning, still rattled, I tried to play it cool with a ranger at the station. I asked casually if anyone had reported anything unusual. He gave me the standard line. Black bears, bobcats, sounds at night. But it wasn't what he said that got to me. It was how he said it. The look on his face. Like there was more. Like something he wanted to say but didn't. Like he'd seen something too. And now I'm here, typing this, still shaken, still unsure, still wondering. I've hiked a lot of places, slept under the stars in forests across the Midwest. But never, not once, have I felt what I felt out there in Shawnee. Watched, hunted, targeted. If you've been out near Garden of the Gods and heard something you can't explain, seen something that doesn't belong in this world, let me know. Because I can't shake the feeling I brushed up against something that's not just unknown, but something we were never supposed to find. Be careful out there. The woods don't always give back what they take. They say every city has its secrets, but some stay buried in brick and steel, forgotten, until something or someone stirs them awake. My name is Barrett. I've worked as a park ranger at Pullman National Monument in Chicago for the past few years. It's a place most people associate with history, old buildings, labor movements, guided tours. But that's not the part I patrol. You see, Pullman stretches wider than most folks realize. Beyond the visitor centers and restored homes lie abandoned rail yards, forgotten alleys, and manufacturing ruins left to rot beneath creeping ivy. That's where I was, the night it happened. I hadn't planned on telling anyone, not really, but it's been clawing at the back of my mind ever since. And I guess I just need to know I'm not going crazy. It started during one of my usual dusk patrols. We've had issues with trespassers in the off-limits zones, teenagers with cameras, amateur ghost hunters, that kind of thing. I was walking the perimeter, flashlight in hand, when I heard it, a sound. Not your average rustling, not a raccoon or stray cat. No, this was slower, heavier, like something sharp was dragging across concrete and gravel. I scanned the area, nothing but a collapsed fence tangled in weeds and the rubble of what used to be a factory floor. Still, the feeling, it didn't go away. That prickling at the base of your neck, the kind you get when something's behind you. I kept walking, telling myself I was being dramatic, but then I saw it. A figure, just for a second, tall, too tall, maybe 7, 8 feet. Just a silhouette slipping behind the shattered doorway of an old building. It was fast, unnaturally fast. I called out, thinking maybe it was a teenager pulling a prank. No answer. I knew I should have backed off. Every instinct screamed, don't go in there. But duty has a way of dragging your boots forward when your mind begs you to run. The interior was pitch black. My flashlight's beam cut through the dark like a knife through tar. And that's when I saw them. Eyes. 2 dull yellow eyes, reflecting the light, level with mine. And I'm over 6 feet tall. They blinked, just once, and the figure began to stand. That's when I realized it hadn't been standing. It had been crouching. The thing towered over me. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The air changed, damp and rotten, like mildew mixed with decay. And then it hissed, not like an animal, not like a man. A low, sharp release of pressure, like steam from an old radiator. Then it bolted, back into the darkness, gone in a flash. I think it dropped to all fours, but it moved so fast I can't be sure. 1 second it was there, the next, nothing. Just the echo of my breath, and that smell. I stayed locked in place for what felt like hours. My patrol for the night, over. My nerves, shattered. I couldn't focus. I couldn't stop checking behind me. The shadows looked deeper after that. Every noise had teeth. The next day, I tried to be casual with one of the older rangers, asked if he'd ever seen anything weird on night patrol. He gave me a look, one of those long, heavy stares that says more than words. Then, just shook his head. That's when I realized I wasn't the first. Maybe the others were told to stay quiet, or maybe they chose to. I've heard whispers, rumors, strange sightings around Chicago's old industrial zones, experiments, creatures, secrets tucked behind rusted doors and locked gates. At the time, I thought they were just stories. Now, I'm not so sure. I've searched for reports, articles, anything. All I find are old ghost stories and urban legends. But what I saw, that wasn't a ghost. It was something real. Something with weight, with presence, with purpose. I don't know what it was. Some cryptid, a failed experiment, a leftover from something darker. All I know is it wasn't supposed to be there. Or maybe I wasn't supposed to see it. So I'm sharing this now, in case someone else has seen those eyes, felt that hiss, walked those forgotten tracks and come back changed. I haven't told my supervisor. I'm not ready for the ridicule, or worse. But if more sightings happen, if someone gets hurt, I might not have a choice. Until then, consider this a warning. If you find yourself near Pullman after dark, don't go near the old buildings. Some things are better left unseen. And so, another strange encounter fades away. A trick of the mind, or something far more unsettling. That's for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching my stories. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going.